Welcome to Nitty Gritty Real Estate. In this series, we're interviewing Matthew Cox. He's infamous for committing millions of dollars in mortgage fraud, for which he served 12 years in prison. He has an ugly past, no doubt, but we're looking beyond that to learn from his unique perspective in the industry so that we can become better real estate investors. Let's get into it. There's all kinds of reasons to get involved with other people in real estate. Certain people bring, certain resources and skills to the table. And when a partnership works, it's a great thing, but sometimes they don't.
Right.
So, Matt, have you ever had a partnership that went bad?
Yeah, I've had a ton of them that have gone bad. But yeah, definitely. I had a partner one time that basically we were flipping properties, and we're flipping properties, and he was also flipping side properties, and he was keeping all the books, because he had you have certain things that, when you get into a partnership, if you're smart about it, if you've had anything go wrong, you understand that it's best just to get everything laid out. Here's what you're responsible for. Here's what I'm responsible for. You write it down. We all agree. Because later, if there's disagreements, you can say, whoa, your responsibility was this. We have it written down. You signed it. We had an agreement. This is what our agreement is. Even if you feel like the guy's a good guy and you're friendly with him, it can go bad. And that's one of the things is that really, when money's involved, people very quickly show their true colors. So what ended up happening was he said, hey, I'll keep the books. And I thought, oh, cool. I don't want to keep the books, because I really wasn't thinking this guy, when you're a lion, you know what I'm saying? You pretty much see everybody as sheeps. So I'm not thinking, you're not going to screw me over. So I wasn't thinking he's going to take advantage of the situation. So what ends up happening is he says, hey, I'll keep the books. That's cool. Sure, no problem. So he keeps the books, and I liked the guy. We had actually were on pretty friendly terms, and so I didn't ever think anything was wrong. Well, he was also flipping properties at other houses. Okay? So flipping
outside of the partnership, right?
He's flipping other properties, other houses that are outside of our partnership. Right. We had 2 or 3 we were flipping, he had a couple he's flipping. And what ended up happening was I would go to him and I would say, hey, here's the invoice for 103 East Amelia. And the air conditioning guy just, he just put in the AC. I went and looked. It's great. Everything's great. Cut him a check for X amount of dollars. And he would say, how much is it? And I go, this much. He'd go, okay, I'll cut him a check for $4,500. Great, $4,500. Great. So no big deal. Even if I were to go back and look at the books, all the checks are being cut to different contractors. So I'm good. He's not stealing from me. I can look at the book. He was always like, hey, you can look at the books. Bro, this is where we're at. I'm like, how did we, sometimes I would say, how are we only got $30,000 left? He'd say, you can come look at the books. Look at this much for this much. I'd be like, man, it's really going fast. That went on for a few months. But what happened is, at one point, I got a phone call from a guy named Harold, who used to put in air conditioning for us. And Harold called up and said, hey, Matt, I got a question for you. I said, yeah, what's up? He goes, hey, I got a check in for $3,500 or $3,700, whatever the check was. And I go, okay. He go, which property is this for? Because I have it written down as this property on the check you sent me, but Robert owed me $3,700 on this property that I'm flipping for him. So did he make a mistake? He sent me a check for the wrong amount, or is this for your property? And I went, doesn't make sense. And he goes, huh? I said, okay, let me check. So I hang up the phone, and I go to look at the book. And I grab the drawer, and it's locked. So I didn't understand why he was locking up the books. So then I started thinking something was wrong, because there was a lot of money leaving our account. Mm-hmm. So I waited till later when he came in, And I said, hey, let me take a look at the books. And he goes, okay, sure. So he opens it up real quick and says, yeah, look, you can see this, check this. He tries to kind of go over it real quick. I'm like, yeah, but Harold just called about this. And I explain it to him. He's like, oh, yeah, that must have been a mistake. Yeah, okay. And I said, yeah, let me have the books. Let me take a look at the books. Well, I found out that he had been out cutting basically about $20,000 over the course of two properties that he'd renovated. He'd taken about 20 grand out of our renovation fund to pay for his renovations. Mm-hmm. So if there was a roof, he was padding the bill and paying for his new roof at his place to get done. Or his drywall work, or his windows. Everything had seemed so, like, really was always off by. But if you're looking at something that costs $6,000 in new windows, and instead of $6,000, it's $7,200, you don't really notice that. So that's what he had been doing. So I went through the books really well, and I started making some phone calls, and I looked at the invoices, and I realized that a lot of these things are being broken up, and he's cutting multiple checks. And, you know, we had a screaming match, and that partnership basically completely went kaput.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a business opportunity through networking or a partner that seems like it's, you know, it'd be a good relationship, do you think there's value in actually running a background check on them? Like, how do you vet those guys? Is a background check something that you would do to check them out before you go further with that?
I wouldn't, but I think so little of people.
Yeah.
And I trust people so little at this point. You know what I'm saying? After I've had enough bad experiences. You know, I've had guys, and keep in mind, a lot of the time, the people that I was dealing with, you know, you didn't have to run a background check. Why would I? You're a realtor. I know you're not a realtor and a mortgage broker, or you're not. I know that because, and so I know you don't have a felony. You know, you didn't get your real estate license having a felony, although I think you can. But most of these people, you know, they appear to be upstanding, you know, citizens, and they have kids that are in private school, and everything, you know, they have a nice house, and they're happily married, and they seem like just all around average, decent people. And then suddenly something goes wrong. And I know people that are upstanding citizens right now, and yet everybody I know that's had a business relationship with them will tell you, bro, watch him, he'll screw you.
So let's say you're in a partnership like yours, and something does go wrong. Do you how do you handle a dispute? Do you have some kind of arbitration, or like what do you do? I mean, if it's beyond just talking through the problem and figuring something out, and let's say you own houses together, what do you do? I know it's a mess, but
yeah, that is a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. Matt, look, to me, you know, I'm not going to go spend $5,000 on a lawyer. We're trying to make 30 grand.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go spend, and we're arguing over a few thousand. Typically, I just walk away. You know, unfortunately, and in my opinion, you've made the mistake. You made that extra $3,000, and that's yours, and that's fine. I'll make more money. You know, money isn't an issue. Once you start buying and selling properties, and you have rental properties, you start realizing it's just a process, and I'll make that money at some point. It's not like that's all the money there is in the world. So to get that $3 grand, am I going to spend $1,000 to have it mediated? When in the end, this guy still doesn't have to give me the money. You know, do I have to go pay an attorney $5,000 to file a lawsuit to get $3 grand?
Yeah.
What are we doing? So at some point, you have to be able to walk away. You have to be unemotional about it. Plus, let's face it, you flip properties. I don't know about you. In my opinion, I've never once flipped a property where I thought I was going to make 40 grand and I made 40 grand. You always make 37,000. You always make a little bit they're just things you just can't account for. Very seldomly have I ever really made what I thought I was going to make on the property.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you know, you have to kind of say, okay, well, you know, let's negotiate this. This is what you're owed, and then you just don't deal with that person again.
Yeah.
And that's their loss.
And so how'd you get out of it with this partner? You own houses together. Did you just liquidate the houses? Did one of you buy the other one out of those houses, or what did you do there?
It was a screaming match. We sold the properties, and first of all, he knew he owed me the 20 grand.
Yeah.
So when it was all said and done, he was, oh, I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to this. I was saying, no, just we'll split the money. It's fine. Because to me, it was worth getting rid of him. We were making a lot of money. So it probably sounds outrageous. You walked away from 20 grand. You know, did I walk away from the whole 20? Did maybe one deal go my way and I made a couple thousand more than I probably would have on a fair cut? I don't know. What I know is he never paid me the money back, and I basically just said, I just wrote him off. You know,
so tell me this, like if you had, say, 3 or 5 tips for the real estate newbie, like how do you, if you're going to get into a partnership, what do you do? Like what's the safe way to do it? You know, let's say vetting the partner, right. Obviously operating agreement.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to, obviously you have to determine what everybody's responsible for. Yep. And there's nothing wrong with, I always love Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. There's nothing wrong with looking over what the other person is doing. Okay. And looking over the books, or even both of you being on the same account. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, both having to sign the
checks. Both
having
to sign the checks.
Yeah.
The issue is that, like I said, it's that if you're both open the account, you're both on the account, it's both of your money. So you're in a bad spot. You better both be looking over it, because if this guy takes all the money and leaves, you're just screwed.
So what do you think in the situation where it's like, let's say one is a money partner and one is like whatever, the managing partner or whatever. So what do you think about the importance of both partners bringing money to the table, like both having something to lose?
Well, I think you're both bringing something to the table, and otherwise there's no partnership. It's like, if we're gonna buy this property and I'm gonna do all the work and put in all the money, and you're gonna get 25% or 30%. That's bullshit. That doesn't happen. So obviously you both have to determine what you're putting in. So if you're putting in the money, then you're putting in the money and you're getting whatever 50% or whatever that split is. And I'm putting in all the labor and meeting all the guys and doing all those things, and I get my 50% or whatever my split is. And you don't tell me what to do with the property. That's not your place. First of all, before you even buy a property, you should already know what's going to happen, what you're doing. Here are the things we're going to do. And listen, I've had those situations before where you get the money, you go in, and suddenly once you're in, the person suddenly says, that you're partners with, suddenly says, oh, you know what we should do? Hardwood floors. Hardwood floors in this neighborhood? Yeah, it'd look great. Okay, you're not living here. This is a quick flip. We're putting in carpet. No, hardwood floors would sell so much. It's going to sell no matter what. We're selling at market value. It's a good market. So you have these. You need to have that when you buy a property. Obviously, you already have everything laid out anyway. The problem is getting some crackpot who wants to start putting in hardwood floors and pedestal sinks and marble countertops, and people start thinking they're on one of these shows and they're a designer, and we have to have an accent wall, and we have to go with mauve, and we have to, what are you doing? It's eggshell. We're painting this thing. We're painting it off-white. The house is yellow. The carpets, the carpet goes in last. White trim. I mean, what are you doing? Home Depot cabinets. Next thing you know, oh no, we need maple. We need this. So, if you have to have all those things determined, you just have to say, look, you have to agree. And if you want to put in the hardwood floors, that's fine. It comes out of your pocket. You know what the problem is when you flip properties and you have partners, they don't ever see your trials and tribulations. They see you driving a really nice car and living in a nice house, and they don't know all the little things that went wrong. It's just like every time you watch one of these programs and you hear about a flip. Oh, I bought the house for $40,000. I put $20,000 in. I sold it for $100,000. It sounds amazing. They never tell you about how the kids in the neighborhood threw rocks through all the windows, or how you were picking up glass for 2 days, or how you painted the inside of that house yourself to try and save money, or trim the trees yourself. They don't ever hear any of that.
So like partnerships, inevitably, how good they seem from the outset, they will be challenged. Oh yeah. And when they're challenged, they can potentially go very bad. And that's the point. Right. Where you need to set things up from the beginning.
From the very beginning. You have to have everything laid out so that you can always say, we agreed we were going to put down carpet and not hardwood floors. We agreed it was your responsibility to put in to meet with these guys.
We're both going to be signing checks so that we're not tempted to skim money.
Right. We're both checking.
And then worst case, you know, if things go bad, then you kind of have to have an exit plan, I guess. Whether that be liquidating the properties or
you know, look, at some point you have to be willing to walk away too.
Yeah.
It depends on the kind of money that's involved, but do you really want to? Do you want to squabble over an extra $3 grand or $2 grand or $5 grand? I mean, at some point, you know, you have to understand you're probably gonna have to take a loss, and you just can't carry that around with you. You have to be able to walk away because you can always make more money.
Subscribe for more interview videos of Matt Cox. Also, if you're interested in learning how to flip houses or buying your first rental property, we can help. More info is in the description and also at nittygrittyrealestate.com. Thanks for watching.